am part of the greatest natural resource of this country. I am part of the greatest natural resource of this world.
The Nebraska Cornhuskers are finally number 1 in NCAA college football. So, what does this mean? Are they the only undefeated team in the nation? No. Did they defeat the number 2 team in the nation and a Super Bowl of college teams? No. So how can they be crowned number 1? Here's what happened. Nebraska was undefeated but went to the Orange Bowl. Penn State, likewise, was undefeated, but went to the Rose Bowl instead, because both of their conferences are obligated to different bowls. The 2 undefeated teams never did play each other in the bowl games. It ended up that both teams won their respective bowl games, but since the media votes, Nebraska ended up being number 1, leaving Penn State and its undefeated record in the dark. Confusion, controversy, and chaos. Those are just a few words that can be used to describe the current process of picking a national champion for college football. There's only one thing to do to restore at least some type of order. That is to have some type of playoff system for college football. The current situation is just not working out. The process is sloppy and not clear. Some type of a playoff system, any type of a playoff system, has to be better than today's current situation. A playoff system would at least determine a clear-cut national champion for college football. This is not only a good idea for the NCAA, but it's also a great idea for us, the college football fans. I know other fans like me want to see the best teams in the nation play each other in a playoff instead of playing lesser teams in bowl games. Tonight, I'd like to first explain the current process of picking a national champion, then give examples that show why this process doesn't work, and finally explore options to the current bowl system. The way the bowl system works now is kind of complicated. First of all, every conference is obligated to different bowls. The bowls are divided into tiers. Conference champions are awarded to certain bowls automatically. For example, in the Big 8 this year, Nebraska was the Big 8 champion, and so they went to the Orange Bowl, which is a first-tier bowl game. Teams with the best records in the country are invited to first-tier bowl games. Colorado, like Nebraska, had one of the best records in the country, so they were invited to the Fiesta Bowl, which is a first-tier bowl game. Teams that get second, third, and fourth in their respective conferences are obligated to third and fourth-tier bowl games. Kansas State, for example, finished third in the Big 8, so they went to the Aloha Bowl, which is a third-tier bowl game. Oklahoma finished fourth and went to the Copper Bowl. So since different conferences are obligated to different bowls, many times undefeated teams or teams with the best records in the country never do play each other in the regular season or in bowl games. This has happened so many times throughout the years that it strikes me funny why the NCAA doesn't have a better system than bowl games for college football. The bowl games themselves are not the problem. It's the selection of the different teams for the bowl games that is the problem. This bowl game process has created many controversial champions over the years, left many teams with a bad taste in their mouth. For example, in 1991, the Washington Huskies and the Miami Hurricanes were in the same predicament as Nebraska and Penn State this year. Both teams ended their seasons with undefeated records, but they ended up being co-champions, unable to play one another to determine a true national champion. Sometimes popularity comes into effect. In 1971, Nebraska and Toledo both ended their seasons with undefeated records, but better-known Nebraska was awarded the national championship over little-known Toledo. Penn State is the team that has been victimized the most by playing in different bowl games. 5 different times, Penn State has been undefeated, but still did not win a national championship. Other times, teams that play a tougher opponent in their bowl will win the national championship. In 1993, Florida State beat a tougher team, which was Nebraska, than Notre Dame did. Even though both teams ended their seasons with identical records, Florida State still won the national championship because the media votes. Another time was in Colorado and Georgia Tech, the only teams in the nation that had only one loss. But, you guessed it, they played in different bowl games. The outcome of this was that both teams were co-champions. Now really, who wants to share a national title with another team? I don't think anyone does. I believe these problems have a very workable solution though. What college football needs is some type of a playoff system where the best teams in the nation can play each other to decide a true national champion. You can set up the playoffs many different ways. First of all, you could just get rid of all of the bowl games and bring in a playoff system. The playoff system could be run just like the NFL's version. The teams that are ranked, or the teams with the best records, would be allowed to compete in the playoffs. The teams would then be given seeds, with the teams with the best records given the higher seeds. The playoffs would be set up like most playoffs, where the higher seeds would play the lower seeds in the first round, and the single elimination tournament would then proceed regularly. A clear-cut national champion would then be crowned. If you don't like the idea of getting rid of all of the bowl games, there are other options. You can still play all of the bowl games, but then the winners of the bowl games can keep playing each other until the national champion is decided. The way this would work is to put all of the bowl games in a playoff tournament. The seeds would again be based on record. The higher seeded teams would play the lower seeded teams in the first round of the bowl game playoffs. The winners of the bowl games would keep playing until a true national champion was decided. This would produce more money for the NCAA and all the college teams that play in NCAA conferences. The NCAA and the football teams would still bring in the money from the first round bowl games, plus bring in additional money from the playoff games that would decide a true national champion. A final option would be to put all the best teams in the nation in a playoff tournament and still keep the bowl games around for the teams that are deserving enough to be in bowl games. With any of these ways, you just can't lose. I know you'll agree that the bowl game process has created many controversial champions over the years, and it's clearly ineffective for college football. But fortunately, there are some alternatives to this situation, and hopefully we'll someday see one of these playoff methods utilized. You know, I think Forrest Gump is onto something. I think bowl games are like a box of chocolates. You'll never know what you'll get next. An outcome of a season could be two undefeated teams with just one champion. Teams with the same record and just one champion. Or the season could end up with co-champions. Many teams throughout the years have been victimized for playing in bowl games instead of a playoff system. Tom Osborne, the coach of the Nebraska Cornhuskers, best said it when he said, "College football needs to take a giant step into the right direction instead of being stuck in its old ways." The word champion is defined in the dictionary as one who has defeated all opponents and is ranked first. One who has defeated all opponents. A playoff system would determine a true national champion for college football. It's a new year. As the saying goes, out with the old and in with the new. We need to throw out the old bowl system and bring in a new playoff system. Let the colleges earn the title national champion and feel a pride in being able to say, we're number one.
Each and every one of us is special in our own way. Jenny, a small girl, is special in ways that many people are blind to. Sometimes the qualities that make us unique and special are not easily understood or appreciated. The Blue Rose by Gerda Klein. Jenny is a little girl, a lovely little girl. She has brown eyes and dark brown hair. If her hair falls into her face, she brushes it away. But her hand does not go directly to her forehead. Instead, it curves around like a flower, first opening its petals. Then she brushes her hair out of her face. You see, Jenny is different. Different? Yes, different than most other little girls. But surely all people don't have to be alike. think alike, look alike, or act alike. To me, Ginny is like a blue rose. A blue rose? Have you ever seen a blue rose? There are white roses, pink roses, yellow roses, and of course a lot of red roses. But blue? Every gardener would love to raise a blue rose. People would come from far away to see it. It would be rare and different and beautiful. Ginny is different too. So, in a way, she is like a blue rose. When Ginny first came home from the hospital, a pink baby, all cuddly and round, she cried more than most babies. Why? Well, perhaps she saw different shadows that frightened her. Perhaps she heard sounds that were strange to her. When she was older, Ginny always stayed close to her mother and held on to her very tightly. You know, when a kitten loses its tail, it's said to gain sharper ears. It's true that a tail helps a kitten to run faster. But a kitten without a tail hears better and can detect approaching footsteps long before other kittens do. Some people don't know about such a kitten's fine tail. They only see the lack of a tail. The children are cruel and stare and taunt. The kitten has no tail, the kitten has no tail. Sometimes, Ginny would run up to her mother and clutch her tightly for no apparent reason at all. At least for none that we could see. And so, we came to understand that she was in a world in which we might not feel completely at home. To go there might, in a way, be like going to another planet. In a way, it is as if Ginny is standing behind a screen that we cannot see. Maybe it has beautiful colors. Maybe the colors distract Ginny at times from listening when we talk to her. Or perhaps she listens to music that we cannot hear. It is said that fish have a language and a music of their own, carried by waves. A music that we cannot hear because our ears are not finding it. So Ginny might hear music that we can never hear. Maybe that is why she jumps up at times and goes into her awkward dances. I sometimes think that Ginny is like a bird with a very short wing. For such a bird, flying is hard. It takes more strength, more effort, more time. A bird with a normal wing takes flying for granted, but a bird with a short wing has to work much harder at learning. In a way, it has to be smarter. And so, therefore, we have to understand how much Ginny has accomplished when she does learn something. But there is another Ginny. A Ginny who, on a stormy winter afternoon, sits in a little rocking chair alone and rocks, holding her doll in her arms. She is very troubled and puzzled, and very slowly she says, "Mommy, Sally says I'm retarded." "What does that mean, Mommy? Retarded?" "The children say retarded and laugh." "Why do they laugh, Mommy?" There are many things that Ginny does not understand, and there are many things that we do not understand about Ginny. That Ginny is like a kitten without a tail. That Ginny does hear different music. And that Ginny is like a blue rose, delicate and lovely. And because there are so few blue roses, we don't know very much about them. We only know that they have to be tended more carefully and loved more.
Pride has many ways of showing itself. Sometimes we do not realize how precious something is to us until it is too late. Our self-centered pride leaves no room for anyone but ourselves. Such is the case in Scarlet Ibis by James Hurst, when Doodle's sister is forced to accept a handicapped member of her family into her inner circle. The Scarlet Ibis by James Hurst. Summer was dead, but autumn had not yet been born when the ibis lit in the bleeding tree. The last graveyard flowers were blooming, and their smell drifted softly, speaking the names of our dead. It's strange that all this is still so clear to me, now that summer has long since fled. It grindstone stands where the bleeding tree stood, and sometimes, as I sit in the cool parlor, the grindstone begins to turn. And I remember. Doodle. Doodle was just about the craziest brother a girl ever had. He was born when I was 6, and was, from the outset, a disappointment. He seemed all head, with a tiny body, which was red and shriveled like an old man's. Everybody thought he was going to die, but he didn't die. And when he was 3 months old, Mama and Daddy decided they might as well name him. They named him William Armstrong. I wanted a brother, but Mama, crying, told me that even if